Hey, Shalom Akim Shalom. First and foremost, as always, I want to give all praise, all honor, and all glory to Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rachakwadash. I want to give double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone that taught us his truth. And as always, I want to give much peace, love, and salutation to the elect, which are scattered across the four corners of the earth, that's pushing this word with all truth and sincerity. To the 144,000 prophets who Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai is ordained to teach this word, to you all, I say Shalom. As well as the large multitude who Yahweh Bashem Awashai will have mercy on in these last days that believe upon the testimony of the 144,000. To you all, I say Shalom as well. I'm the brother Tazamah from the Great Millstone Dallas camp. I'm coming back with another quick lesson, and Lord willing, this lesson will be edifying. And today's lesson is going to be entitled, Thou Shalt Not Abhor a Syrian. Okay, thou shalt not abhor a Syrian. And the reason why, through the Spirit, I want to do this lesson is because, you have, Elder Racha from the GOCC, the Gathering of Christ Church, which, is another Israelite group that's pretty much a Christian group, that teaches that all nations, can be saved. That Edomites can partake in the kingdom, or Edomites are going to partake in the kingdom with the Israelites, in the sense of, when I say partake, I mean they can have the same blessing that the Israelites can have, which it's not scriptural. And they're trying to, pull these scriptures as, for example, Deuteronomy 23:7, where it says, thou shalt not abhor an Edomite. All right. But when you go into the wording in the actual text of the scripture, it really says Syrian, because that word Edomite there in the Hebrew, all right, it's a clerical error. Where really it says Arawam, which we'll get in, we'll prove it, and we're going to go into the history as to why it says, thou shalt not abhor a Syrian. Now, what you see here on the screen is a map that says Abraham's journey with principal trade routes. So you can see we're going to focus here on the highlighted portion. All right, the highlighted portion there where you see where Abraham was in Ur of the Chaldees. All right, in the far east. And then he went up into Babylon, because when Abraham dwelt, all right, on the other side of the river, or as they like to say, on the other side of the flood, which is the Euphrates, all right, Abraham, all right, was worshiping idols, all right, in a Gentile state of mind. And what happened? The Lord called Abraham and woke him up. It tells you that in Joshua, the 24th chapter, how they were worshiping, him and his father were worshiping other gods, right? So as you see, he went up to Babylon, where he's seen the real Christmas and the real Saturnalia. He's seen all that, right? And then he went up into Padanaram. Okay, as you see here, he traveled up into Padanaram and then Haran. Okay, which we're gonna get all this here. Then he went down off the Mediterranean coast, down Zidon and Tyre, and then entered into the land of Canaan, which ultimately is the promised land. Okay. Now, what I want to do here is, matter of fact, let me just say this. I'll probably use this as my picture. All right. But so let's actually go ahead and go into the scripture. So this is Deuteronomy chapter 23, verse 7. It says, thou shalt not abhor an Edomite. So, you have these, these Israelite Christians, as I say, because we are truly the Mashiachim. All right, but when I call these guys Christians, all right, they're pretty much just the offshoot of Western Christianity with a Hebrew Israelite twist on it. Okay, but they're even more bugged out, believing in mermaids and, the Nephilim, our demons, all these different, the GOCC is bugged the hell out, man. And you can look at Rakad from the GOCC church, and you can see how bugged out he is, man. If you just look at it and tell by the countenance of this man's face. All right. So let's get this word Edomite here, which we've gone into this plenty of times. But hey, these things have to come out again because there's new listeners, right? So you got, as you see, it says Adumya, right? So you'll see Edomite here, but as you read down here, it says KJV translation count 12 times, right? The KJV translates strong H130 in the following manner: Edomites 11 times. And then you got Syria, which is once. Strong's definition, Adumya, right? It says patronymic form H123, C H726. It says an Edomite or descendants from or inhabitants of Edom. But when it says C H726, which we're about to get that real quick here, right? Let me actually see something real quick. Okay, yeah. So when you get that word, when it says CH726, what does it say? Arawamya. Okay. Which says what? Aramite or Assyrian. A clerical error for Adumya. Why is it a clerical error? Because that Ra and that Da, all right, when the Masoretes were writing, when the Masoretes were writing these scriptures down, the Ra and the Da look similar. So sometimes when you see Ra, it could be a Da, or sometimes when you see Da, it could be a Ra. So sometimes you see Edomite, it could be Syrian, and vice versa. When you see Syrian, it could be Edomite. As you see down here, it says Arawamya, a clerical error for H130. So it's a clerical error. Clerical. What does clerical mean? Of a job or person concerned with or relating to work in an office, relating to clergy. So it's a clerical error. So it really should say Syrian here as we're breaking this down. So really, in reality, it says, thou shalt not abhor in Syrian, for he is thy brother. Why is he? Because now are the Edomites our brothers too? Yes, but the scriptures also says that there's no repentance given unto Esau. It tells you that in Hebrews, the 12th chapter. Okay, the scripture says that the Lord said, what? I have loved Jacob and I have hated Esau, right? It says, thou shalt not abhor an Egyptian, because thou wast a stranger in his land. Why? Because we were down in Egypt as well, having children. Right? So, why does it say that thou shalt not abhor in Syrian? Because we just broke that word Edomite down and proven that it's really supposed to say Syrian there. We just went into the Hebrew. Okay, it tells you that it was a clerical error for Syrian, right? So why? But why? Okay, now let's jump to Genesis, the 11th chapter. All right, we're going to go to Genesis, the 11th chapter, and let's see. We're going to start at verse. Like 26, because in this chapter, okay, it goes into the Tower of Babel. All right, how it was erected, and pretty much the languages got confounded and things of that nature. And then from when you start at verse 10, it goes down into the descendants of Shum, which Shum, okay, is the name, okay, which is that line, right, that the Lord was dealing with all the way from Adam, okay. Got Shem, then it goes down into Arphaxad, so on and so forth, Peleg, Eber, then not down that line, Abraham came through that line, right? So, so we're going to start at verse 26 and we're going to read down, right? So it says, and Terah lived 70 years and begat Abram, Nahor, and Haran. Okay, so we see clearly that Terah is the father of Abraham. At this time, his name was Abram, Nahor, and Haran. Now keep this name Haran. Just keep this name in mind. Okay. Now these are the generations of Terah. Terah begat Abram, Nahor, and Haran. And Haran begat Lot. Okay, so Haran begat Lot. And you read about Lot being delivered from what? Sodom and Gomorrah, when the Lord destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah. So that shows you that what? Lot is Abraham's nephew. Okay, Nahor is Abraham's brother. Haran is Abraham's brother. Lot is Abraham's nephew, right? And Haran died before his father Terah in the land of his nativity. Okay, Haran died in Ur of the Chaldees. That's because that's where, as we see here in the map, that's where they was, right here. See that? That's where they was, in the land of their nativity. Haran died in Ur. Okay, and Haran died before his father Terah in the land of his nativity, in Ur of the Chaldees. That just broke down. And Abram and Nahor took them wives. Okay, the name of Abram's wife was Sarai, right, which is also later known as Sarah. And the name of Nahor's wife, Milcah, which is the wife of Nahor, the daughter of Haran. Okay, so Milcah, which was Nahor's wife, okay, was the daughter of Haran. Because you got to think, our families back then were very, very, very close knit. Okay, Sarah was related to Abraham. Okay, so let's read it again. And Abram and Nahor took them wives. The name of Abram's wife was Sarai. And the name of Nahor's wife, Milcah, right, the daughter of Haran. Mind you, Haran, Nahor, and Abraham are all brothers. The father of Milcah and the father of Iscah. So Haran had Milcah and Iscah. Let's read this in the NLT. Meanwhile, Abram and Nahor both married. The name of Abram's wife was Sarai, and the name of Nahor's wife was Milcah. Milcah and her sister Iscah were daughters of Nahor's brother Haran, right? But Sarai was barren. She had no children. Okay. And Terah took Abram his son, and Lot the son of Haran his son's son, and Sarai his daughter-in-law, his son Abram's wife. And they went forth with them from Ur of the Chaldees to go into the land of Canaan. Okay, as we seen in the map. And they came unto Haran and dwelt there. So they came unto where? Haran. Okay. Remember, Haran passed away, right? But it says they came and dwelt in the land of Haran. Okay, that word Haran in the Hebrew is Haran, mountaineer. Okay, it says the city to which Abram migrated when he left Ur of the Chaldees, and where he stayed until his father died before leaving for the promised land. So Abraham dwelt in the land of Haran for a period of time, right? Located in Mesopotamia in Padanaram at the foot of Mount Messias between Abhor and the Euphrates, which is where? At the top here, north of the Mediterranean Sea. See that? In Padanaram, that's where Abraham dwelt there for a minute, right? So it says, and the days of Terah were 205 years, and Terah died in Haran. So Terah lived to be 205 years, and he passed away, right? Now, let's go over to chapter. What we're going to do here is we're going to jump to Genesis, the 22nd chapter. Okay, we're going to jump to Genesis, the 22nd chapter. And this is the chapter where Abraham was going to offer up Isaac. But we're not going to read that we're not going to read that portion. Okay, so we're going to go down to the point because I just want to hit the points in this lesson. I don't want this to be too long. This is Genesis chapter 22, verse 20. All right, it reads, it says, and it came to pass after these things that it was told Abraham, saying, behold, Milcah. Now, who is Milcah again? Milcah is the wife of Nahor. Right? It says, behold, Milcah, she hath also borne children unto thy brother Nahor. Okay? Because they were, they had children. Huz, his firstborn, and Buz, his brother, right? And Kemuel, and Kemuel, the father of Aram. Okay, Kemuel was the father of Aram. I just wanted to just see something real here. You got Aram. Okay, he said Aram or Arameans, Arameans, exalted Aram or Syria, the nation, the Syrian Aramean people. Aram equals exalted, the grandson of Nahor. Okay, so Aram here is the grandson of Nahor, right? But the point is this here. We're going to get to the point. It says in Chesed and Hazo and Pildash and Jidlaph and Bethuel. Now keep this name Bethuel in mind, right? So he begat and it says that Kemuel the father of Aram and Chesed and Hazo and Pildash and Jidlaph and Bethuel, right? And Bethuel begat Rebekah. Okay, Bethuel is the father of Rebekah. Just keep these names, just follow along here. Just keep Bethuel and Rebekah are key. Keep these names in mind. These 8 Milcah did bear to Nahor, Abraham's brother. Okay, so these are all all these here, these people, Bethuel, right? Because Nahor is the brother of Abraham. All these children that Nahor had are in relation to Abraham. Abraham would technically be considered their uncle. See that? Now, let's go to Genesis. Let's go over to Genesis, let's go to Genesis, the 24th chapter, because this is the chapter where Abraham, pretty much Isaac is on the scene. All right, already. And now we're looking for a wife for Isaac, which is Abraham's son, which is the son, which was the promise was to go down to, because Abraham had a total of 8 children. You know, he had Ishmael, Isaac, okay, and 8 other children, 6 other children, I'd rather say, with Hagar. Okay. So let's start at verse 1 and read down. It says, and Abraham was old and well stricken in age, and Yahweh had blessed Abraham in all things. And Abraham said unto his eldest servant of his house that ruled over all that he had, put, I pray thee, thy hand under my thigh, and I will make thee swear by Yahweh, the power of heaven and the power of the earth, that thou shalt not take a wife unto my son of the daughters of the Canaanites, among whom I dwell. So he told his servant, which I want to say, this is was this Eleazar? I'm not sure if this is Eleazar. I just want to get to the points, but it could have been Eleazar. But he told him specifically not to get him a wife of the daughters of the Canaanites, because what? The Canaanites were a heathen nation, which we were going into the land of Canaan. But what was the main reason why? Their ways could be corrupted. Their ways could corrupt that seed, as we seen down the line. What happened with the sons of God, right? It says, but thou shalt go into my country and to my kindred, and take a wife unto my son Isaac. So there's a specific reason why he said go into my country and go into my kindred. Who is your kindred? Your kindred are your close relatives or your cousins. Okay. Now let's jump down to verse 15. Okay. Now this is when they meet Rebekah, right? It says, and it came to pass before he had done speaking, that behold, Rebekah came out, who was born to Bethuel. Now, who was Bethuel again? Bethuel is the son of Nahor. Okay, Bethuel is the son of Nahor, as we read in Genesis, the 22nd chapter. Okay, Nahor is the brother of Abraham. Milcah is the wife of Nahor. Bethuel had Rebekah. They are related. They are family. Okay. And it came to pass before he had done speaking these things, and it came to pass before he had done speaking that behold, Rebekah came out, who was born to Bethuel, son son of Milcah, which Milcah is the wife of Nahor, the wife of Nahor, Abraham's brother, with her pitcher upon her shoulder. So it's giving you, it's specifically telling you Rebecca came from Bethuel, which was the son of Milcah, the wife of Nahor, Abraham's brother, right? It's a reason why it's saying that. Why? Because they were of close relation. They were family, right? Now let's jump down to verse 28 and 29. It says, and the damsel ran and told them, and the damsel, it says, and the damsel ran, talking about Rebecca, and told them of her mother's house these things. Who's the mother of the damsel here, Rebecca? Who's the mother? Milcah. And Rebecca had a brother, and his name was Laban. So Laban and Rebecca were brother and sisters. Keep his name Laban in mind. And Laban ran out unto the man, unto the well. Keep this in mind. Rebecca and Laban, brothers and sisters. Laban is the son of Nahor and Milcah. Okay? What we're doing here is we're going down the line and keeping track of the stories here, of the story, right? Now, we're going to go to the next chapter, okay? We're going to read Genesis, the 25th chapter. We're going to start at verse 19 because this is going into Isaac's sons now, because what? Isaac and Rebekah had children. And we know who came out of Isaac and Rebekah, Jacob and Esau, okay? Genesis 25 and 19. And these are the generations of Isaac, Abraham's son. Abraham begat Isaac. And Isaac was 40 years old when he took Rebekah to wife, which proves that, because it says that Rebekah was a damsel, by the way, and Isaac was 40. So put that together. But that's another lesson for another time. And Isaac was 40 years old when he took Rebekah to wife, the daughter of Bethuel, the Syrian of Padanaram. Why they call him Bethuel the Syrian? Because what? He dwelt in the land of Haran. Abraham was in Haran, man. We read that earlier. He dwelt up and was in Haran until his father Terah passed. So it's family ties going on here. So it says, and Isaac was 40 years old when he took Rebekah to wife, the daughter of Bethuel the Syrian of Padanaram, the sister to Laban the Syrian. So why are they saying Bethuel the Syrian and Laban the Syrian? This is where we get in where the story is coming in line, why it says, thou shalt not abhor a Syrian, because thou was a stranger in his land. Okay, now I ain't talking about no Edomites here, man. And you got these bug outs over there at GOCC over here trying to give Esau a pass, where the scriptures clearly is telling you that there ain't no pass for Esau, man. Okay. Now, this is Genesis the 28th chapter. This is the chapter where Jacob is now sent, right? And Isaac called Jacob and blessed him and charged him and said unto him, thou shalt not take a wife of the daughters of Canaan. Same thing Abraham told his servant for Isaac. Don't take a daughter of the wife. Don't take a wife of the daughters of Canaan, right? It's particular a wife here. Arise, go to Padanaram. So why did he tell him to go to Padanaram? Why is Isaac telling Jacob to go there? Because he had family there. He had family up there, right? Go to Padanaram, to the house of Bethuel, thy mother's father. Who's the mother of Jacob? Rebekah. Right? Who's the father of Rebekah? Bethuel. Bethuel was a son of Nahor, which is the brother of Abraham. And take thee a wife from thence of the daughters of Laban, thy mother's brother. Thy mother's brother. You see that? Laban and Rebekah were brothers and sisters. So Isaac is telling Jacob to get a wife from the daughters of Laban, thy mother's brother, which Laban was Jacob's uncle. Okay. It says, and the Most High and the power Almighty bless thee and make thee fruitful and multiply thee that thou mayest be a multitude of people, which is the same blessings that was passed on to Abraham, which was passed on to Isaac, which is now being passed on to Jacob, which is passed on to the 12 tribes. Okay, not everybody. It says, and give thee the blessing of Abraham to thee and to thy seed with thee. Thy seed, it doesn't say to everybody, it says thy seed with thee, that thou mayest inherit the land wherein thou art a stranger, which the Most High gave unto Abraham. Okay. And Isaac sent away Jacob, and he went to Padanaram unto Laban. He went to Padanaram unto Laban. Who's Laban again? Laban is the brother of Rebekah, son of Bethuel, grandson of Nahor, cousin in relation to Abraham. And Isaac sent away Jacob, and he went to Padanaram unto Laban, son of Bethuel the Syrian, the brother of Rebekah, Jacob's and Esau's mother. So Jacob went to Laban, which was his uncle, he was also known as what? He was also known as Laban the Syrian. Remember when we read that earlier? Okay. Now we're going to jump over to the next chapter. All right. Chapter 29. And this is when Jacob meets Rachel. Okay. This is when Jacob meets Rachel here. Okay. But for the sake of time, I'm just going to get to the points. It says, Then Jacob went on his journey and came into the land of the people of the east. Right. And he looked and behold a well in the field. And lo, there were 3 flocks of sheep lying by it. For out of that well they watered the flocks. And a great stone was upon the well's mouth. Excuse me. And thither were all the flocks gathered. And they rolled the stone from the well's mouth and watered the sheep, and put the stone again upon the well's mouth in the place. And Jacob said unto them, My brethren. Why do you say my brethren? Whence be ye? Right? Where are you from? And they said, Of Haran are we. Right? Now, who was Haran again? Who was Haran again? Okay. Haran was the brother of Abraham and Nahor, which Haran died in Ur of the Chaldees. Keep that in mind. Remember that. Right? It says there of Haran. It says, and he said unto them, Know ye Laban, the son of Nahor? Why is it saying the son of Nahor? Because Nahor was Laban's grandfather. Because Bethuel was the father of Laban. Right? And he said unto them, Know ye Laban, the son of Nahor? And they said, We know him. See that? They said, Yeah, we know him. Okay. Now, let's jump down to verse 13 and 14 for the sake of time. It says, And it came to pass when Laban heard the tidings of Jacob, his sister's son, that he ran to meet him and embraced him and kissed him and brought him to his house. And he told Laban all these things. And Laban said to him, Surely thou art my bone and my flesh. Why did he say you're my bone and my flesh? He's pretty much saying, hey, man, certainly you my family, you my cousin. You family, you blood. That's why it says, certainly you are of my bones and of my flesh. Okay, let's go back down and read this again. It says, and Laban says, Surely thou art my bone and my flesh. And he abode with him the space of a month. He's like, man, you know what I'm saying? You really are my own flesh and blood. You my cousin. Why? Because they're related. They're cousins. That's why it says, thou shalt not abhor a Syrian. Okay? That's a clerical error, but we just went through the history to prove as to why it says that. All right, this is Deuteronomy 26, verse 5. And thou shalt speak and say before Yahweh thy power, a Syrian ready to perish was my father. Right? Assyrian. Why is it saying Assyrian here? It's talking about Jacob. Okay? Assyrian ready to perish was my father. And he went down into Egypt and sojourned there with a few and became there a nation, great, mighty, and populous. See, because what we originally went down into the land of Egypt. When you go back into the story of Joseph, you know what, Jacob eventually went down into Egypt, and we were in Egypt for a while, and we began to grow. And thou shalt speak and say before Yahweh thy power, a Syrian ready to perish was my father. Because what, we had to go into the land of Egypt because of a famine. But why is it saying it's Syrian here? Think about it. And he went down into Egypt and sojourned there with a few, and became there a nation, great, mighty, and populous. See that? That Syrian there is talking about Jacob. Okay? And we'll end it off in this one. Hosea 12:12. And Jacob fled into the country of Syria, and Israel served for a wife, and for a wife he kept sheep. Talking about what he got Rachel, and man, I'm having a brain fart. Rachel and man, Salakia, having a brain fart. It was Rachel and he had a Bilhah, that was one of the concubines. Leah, excuse me, that's what it is. Salakia. But it says Jacob fled into the country of Syria. See that? And Israel, Jacob, served for a wife, and for a wife he kept sheep. So this is the breakdown of thou shalt not abhor a Syrian. Okay, because what, we had relatives in that land, we had family in that land, and we just went into the history to prove it. We dwelt in Padan Aram and Haran, which Haran was the brother of Nahor and Abraham. All right, Nahor had Milcah as a wife. They had children. Bethuel came on the scene. Bethuel, which is the father of Rachel and Laban. Okay, Rebecca and Laban. Rebecca is the mother of Jacob. Laban is the uncle of Jacob. All in relations, man. Okay, ain't talking about thou shalt not abhor an Edomite. We gotta love Esau. Get the hell out of here, man. Call halal Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Bashem Rachakadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of the great millstone taught us his truth, and much peace, love, and salutation to the elect. Shalom.